Ideas for using radio waves to detect aircraft appeared in the 1920s, but little had been done to develop its military use in Britain before 1934. Then, the government's concern that Germany was preparing for war led to the creation of the TISAD Committee and the urgent establishment of a team dedicated to developing an effective aerial defense system based on radio detection finding, or RDF, technology. This project was to be led by Robert Watt. In May 1935, the Watt team arrived at Orfordness, aiming to create a remote and suitable base for their research and development. There, they successfully established what they called an ionospheric research station, and by 1936, Watt had relocated most of this team to Bawdsey Manor. Performance improvements achieved there were the basis that ultimately led to the successful deployment of the Chain Home system, a series of radar sites along the UK's east and south coasts. This image depicts the southern end of the street, the name given locally to the 1 kilometre-long track on Orfordness, with Stony Ditch and the North Sea on its right, around which most of the World War I-era buildings were situated. For clarity, some structures, and those built after 1939, are not shown here. The building numbers quoted are from Air Ministry records. In 1921, the wide-ranging flying development trials on Orfordness came to an end, and the site was placed under a care and maintenance status, and the World War I-era buildings became redundant. In 1935, Robert Watt, seeking to relocate his radio detection finding, or RDF, team, visited Orfordness looking for suitable buildings among the more than 40 that were available. Most of these structures were wooden, largely unused, and in poor condition. However, the RDF team identified 3 buildings that could also provide sufficient space for installing 8 external masts. The 3 selected buildings, which were subsequently refurbished, and the 6 masts, are highlighted in this image. 4 wooden receiver masts each 75 feet high are located around Building 1. This was a World War I barrack block that in 1935 was refurbished to become Watt's receiver lab. Shown are 2 240-foot high towers that supported the experimental transmitter aerials. These towers replaced 2 earlier 75-foot high wooden masts. Building 7 was built as an officers' mess during World War I, and was repurposed in 1935 to become the mess hall and store for the Watt team. Building 14 was originally a World War I barrack block but was repurposed by Watt as the transmitter lab. Building 18, a former World War I barrack block, was rejected by Watt. It remains in use today as a store, and is one of 4 Orfordness buildings that have been awarded listed status. An early design of antenna is suspended by the 2 240-foot transmitter masts. Building 3, known as the NAFI to current visitors, was built between 1915 to 1918, and it is another of the 4 listed buildings on the Ness. This vertical view, showing location of the 3 buildings and their masts. This is an aerial photograph of the street, taken in 1945.